Well, I'm honored to have been asked to speak. And on this day, this celebration of 50 years of a man who epitomizes the best of who we are as a country, and who 50 years talked about his vision of who we are and what we can be. And indeed, he was a visionary. And what I take personal sense of connection with is him as a prosecutor. I grew up the daughter of parents who met when they were active in the civil rights movement. My sister and I joke we grew up surrounded by a bunch of adults who spent full-time marching and shouting for this thing called justice. And who but Robert Kennedy epitomizes the power of the prosecutor to fight for justice. Let's remember what he did with this United States Department of Justice. He understood that to fight for justice means to fight for equality under the law, fight for fairness, be a voice for the vulnerable and the voiceless. And so what he did with the United States Department of Justice was to highlight what it means to truly be a voice for the people as a prosecutor. It was he who sent officials from the United States Department of Justice to protect the Freedom Riders. Let's remember that. It was he who, as the leader of the United States Department of Justice, sent United States Marshals to protect James Meredith when he was enrolling at Ole Miss. It was he who helped push for the appointment of a young lawyer by the name of Thurgood Marshall to the Second Circuit, and who, of course, went on to be a great leader in the United States Supreme Court. That was the vision of the prosecutor, who was Robert Kennedy. And then we know that as a leader in our country, understanding the beauty of who we are and who we can be, he had a vision that he spoke of 50 years ago, when he spoke out against, and I will quote, "the inexcusable and ugly deprivation which causes children to starve in Mississippi, black citizens to riot in Watts, young Indians to commit suicide on their reservations, and proud and able-bodied families to wait out their lives in empty idleness in eastern Kentucky." Kennedy understood, that the fight for justice is the fight to connect all people, understanding we all have so much more in common than what separates us. He understood that this was about the interconnection between all people who need a voice and who must be seen and given dignity. And as a Californian, it is a moment of pride for us. Nancy knows this, our great leader, knows that we take pride in California in having been the recipients of his attention when he looked west, concerning himself as a senator from New York, concerning himself with what was happening with the farm workers in California. I know many have spoken about that. But it is still the subject of great conversation and inspiration when they talk about how he came and traveled. He wasn't sure that he had a sense of connection with them, but he was invited and he went. And then he kept going back. He was with Cesar Chavez as he broke his fast. And I will tell you, in the Chavez family, this is something they talk about with an incredible amount of warmth and strength as they continue the fight for farm workers in California and around the country. And I will bring greetings to you from Julie Chavez Rodriguez, his granddaughter, Cesar Chavez's granddaughter, who is actually my state director in California. So he inspired so many of us, and his legacy certainly lives on. And I'll just end with this. You know, he talked about, and I'll quote again, "The world demands the qualities of youth, not a time of life, but a state of mind." The qualities of youth. We've been facing so many challenges as a country, but the words that he spoke then hold so true today. And most of us who work in this incredible place, we see it every day. We've been seeing his words in action when those young dreamers walk the halls of the United States Congress every day in the thousands. They have been traveling here from around the country. God only knows how they afford to get here. I am certain they're sleeping 10 deep on someone's living room floor. And these young people have been walking the halls of this United States Congress because they believe that if they are seen and if their stories are heard, that they will matter and have impact. They believe in our democracy. Those are the words of Robert Kennedy that are being lived in these halls today. The words of Kennedy are being lived in the halls today. When we look out on the mall and see all those high school students who were here and have been marching around our country, speaking truth, unedited, unfiltered, and moving for legislation, moving us in the United States Congress to act. So it couldn't be more appropriate, poignant, and a better coincidence in time to today celebrate 50 years ago the words he spoke and the vision he had then for our country. And I believe that his vision, we are living it, and we will keep living it. And as he spoke in particular, this world demands the qualities of youth, and I think the youth are speaking, and they are speaking with his spirit in mind. Thank you.